We'll be getting started in a minute, guys. Hold on 1 second. I'm on my way. Welcome everyone to another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on channel Gbu2786, Facebook, and also on my self-entitled channel Gavin Richard on YouTube and Gavin Rich 2786. That is on Twitter. If you guys are on Twitter, you can follow me directly right there. Gav M Rich 2786. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. I was running a little late because I was gearing up for my podcast earlier, and I actually had the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. I just got off the phone with him, and you guys know the judge can talk. He has no concept of time. He's like God. He has he's outside the boundaries of time when he starts speaking, and it's hard to get him to stop. But he's also a walking encyclopedia. He has a wealth of knowledge that I like to share and discuss. And I brought this actual topic up to him about the movie we're talking about today, Judas and the Black Messiah. And he actually said he would not watch this film. He had obviously to put a 19-year-old, which was what uh, Fred Hampton was when he joined the Black Panther Party and started his quest, uh, for Black Revolution in the late 1960s. And he obviously knew Fred Hampton well. Well, when I say like God, Bishop, I mean, outside time, it's a joke. So I know he's not God per se, but I'm just saying, Judge has no concept of time. Uh, well, so it's just a joke. Don't send lightning bolts at me, all right? At any rate, guys, I want to talk about the film, and this is a spoiler alert, so let me get into that. But to what my point with Judge, he was obviously took issues with it because that he knew that Fred Hampton personally, and he takes exception, and he just talked about it and you guys will be, I'll upload the podcast. You guys can check out the podcast on Anchor. Gavin Reshaw Presents. It's the same as this channel. The podcast is Gavin Reshaw Presents on Anchor. I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to upload that podcast later on, and I might very well put up a direct link to it on YouTube and on my Patreon account so you guys can check it out. That'll be uploaded sometime later tonight. But we talked about it briefly. That was just our first part of my interview with Judge Joe Brown, and we discussed it. And he basically stated Fred Hampton was not a black messiah, and he thought it's insulting that black people would even that black people needs a black messiah, essentially, to as a leader. He even was talking about how all of us at one point we didn't do our jobs, and you know the title of Judas and the Black Messiah. Let's just talk about the movie. That's a screenshot of the poster. The movie, of course, is based off of some real or inspired by real life events. I only say inspired and based off because we know Hollywood does take exceptions with films, but the movie obviously is based in real life on Fred Hampton. Of course, Fred Hampton was the chairman of the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party. Now, uh, of the Illinois chapter, not just the Chicago. And of course, the Black Panthers were set up in the late night around 1966 out in Oakland, California, founded by Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton. And we know that they were targeted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, just like many so-called radical groups, black groups such as Shalom CH464. Many black groups were targeted by this United States government. Even Dr. King's SCLC was under FBI surveillance and was targeted. Nation of Islam was targeted. SNCC was targeted. Nothing was left on, no stone was left unturned by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI. They purposefully and willingly tried to sabotage all of these movements. And what you saw, and I guess to give you a rundown, I don't know if anybody has seen the movie, but there's spoiler alerts in this. So please keep that in mind. There are spoiler alerts. Put that in the comments. I'm spoiler alerts. So I'm gonna actually put that right here so you all can see spoiler alerts are coming. So the movie opens up, and I'm gonna see if I can get a still shot of the film, but let me see if I could. I think I know what I can do. I actually have the HBO Max account. I don't want to get a copyright strike for any of this, so I don't want to play the movie or anything like that. But the movie opens up with Martin Sheen as J. Edgar Hoover. Now, those of you who do not know, obviously you know who Martin Sheen is. So yes, from movies such as shows like The West Wing, he was in Talk to Me. He is the father of Charlie Sheen. I'm going to put a shot of his profile as J. Edgar Hoover. Okay, so he's playing J. Edgar Hoover. Okay, so that's Martin Sheen. That's J. Edgar, supposedly J. Edgar Hoover, right? Yeah, bad makeup. And J. Edgar Hoover, of course, was the FBI director since its foundation. He ruled with an iron fist the FBI, and he kept secrets on many celebrities. He actually used his clout to blackmail celebrities. It's also been long rumored he was blackmailed in turn by the mafia because the mafia had pictures supposedly of him in uncompromising positions with his second in command, James Tolson. Now, by uncompromising, you guys figure it out. But for a fact, I know he did not like Dr. King. He was a racist, and he was known for being a cross-dresser. They even say that he was black. Who knows? It's like what Paul Mooney says: white people will only go and won't investigate their family tree because there's a nigga that'll fall out. That's what Paul Mooney used to say. That was his word. So supposedly, yeah, he was a cross-dresser. Well, I mean, there have been rumors of it for a long time. He wasn't married. After he died, very interesting. His and this is Tolson, Clyde Tolson. I said James Close Tolson, but this is Clyde Tolson. That was his name. Here's a picture of him with Clyde Tolson chillaxing at the pool. That's Hoover. And that's Tolson right there. All right. But there have been a lot of books on J. Edgar Hoover. Uh, there's a book called The Secret Life of J. Edgar Hoover. It's called Official and Confidential. It's on Amazon.com. I remember uh, this brother by the name of Steve Coakley. You guys are familiar with him because he has done a lot of research on the King assassination. I know he's talked about Jesse Jackson supposedly being involved in Dr. King's assassination. I won't get into all of that, but I mean, yeah, I've heard that J. Edgar Hoover was part black, and I mean, most celebrities. I mean, I didn't know Carol Channing was black. Carol Channing, I believe had a grandparent that was a black woman, if I'm not mistaken. Carol Channing, of course, just passed away sometime back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, the Broadway singer. A lot of people have biracial makeup. I don't know that we don't know about. They don't like to talk. I mean, look at Ving Rhames. I'm sorry, Ving Rhames, Vin Diesel. Guys, I butcher names all the time. I'm sorry, it's just my head. Vin Diesel, because I remember there was a point where he stayed. We don't know who Vin Diesel is, but this is the book. It's by Anthony Summers. It's called Official and Confidential: The Secret Life of J. Edgar Hoover. You can get that on Kindle. I thought it was out of print, but apparently it's been republished. They have other books here, The Man and the Secrets. I mean, he kept thousands of secrets on different people. I mean, all of the people that you know of, all your major celebrities back in the 60s and 70s were subjected to FBI surveillance. They had an FBI file on them. Even Richard Pryor had an FBI file. George Carlin has an FBI file. A lot of people, be that as it may. Uh, J. Edgar Hoover called and had a group in the FBI. There was something called the Counterintelligence Program. And the Counterintelligence Program, ladies and gentlemen, was established to uh, forbid the rise of a Black Messiah. This is the Counterintelligence Program, or as it was called, COINTELPRO. This is actually their abbreviation. This is from Wikipedia. You guys can check it out right here. All right. COINTELPRO was founded and created in around 1956. And you notice it says 1956 through unknown. So it's never been officially canceled or officially ended. What it says was a series of covert and illegal projects conducted by the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation aimed at surveilling, infiltrating, discrediting, and disrupting domestic American political organizations. FBI records show COINTELPRO resources, targeted groups and individuals the FBI deemed subversive, including feminist organizations, the Communist Party of the United States of America, the anti war movement, uh, activists of the civil rights movement or Black Power movement. This included Martin Luther King, Nation of Islam, and the Black Panthers. Now, it also says further when you read this that under the Hoover, the agent in charge of COINTELPRO was William Sullivan, and Attorney General Bobby Kennedy personally authorized some of the programs, giving written approval for limited wiretapping of Martin Luther King's phones on a trial basis for a month or so. Hoover extended the clearance so his men were unshackled to look for evidence in any areas of King's life that they deemed worthy. But he was responsible, ladies and gentlemen, no doubt, for trying to, I've always believed this, and judges say this, for the murder of Dr. Martin Luther King. I don't want to give that away because talk about that much because we're talking about this movie. But I want to just give you some background. That's what this was in this movie. That's where it starts off when we saw Martin Sheen's character and what he was trying to do essentially was stop the rise of a black messiah. And you can see here that, uh, they talked about a black messiah. I mean, even this article, I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is from 1976. Yeah, Hoover was played by Leonardo DiCaprio. That was funny. I remember a movie, the guy who played in Godzilla, Kevin, I can't think of his name. He's a short guy, but in the movie Chaplin, he played J. Edgar Hoover. I'm trying to think of his name. He was in Transformers. He played the dad. A lot of people have played uh, J. Edgar Hoover. A couple of people have played him, and he was the he was the main character's father in the film. Let's see if I can find it. Kevin Dunn, that's his name. Okay. But you see here in this article, it says here how J. Edgar Hoover created Carmichael, Stokely Carmichael, as Black Messiah. J. Edgar Hoover wrote in 1968 internal FBI memo just made public that black militant Stokely Carmichael had the necessary charisma to be a real threat to the internal security of the United States. The memo singled out Carmichael as the most likely messiah among black leaders at that time to unify and electrify the black nationalist movement, more likely than Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Elijah Muhammad, or H. Rap Brown. That memo, you could see here, look closely. It was dated March 4th, 1968, and that it was important for the FBI to try to prevent the rise of a messiah who could put together a coalition of militant black groups. Now, for purposes of what we're discussing here in the movie, they went through and showed some things about about Brother Fred Hampton and what he was trying to do in organizing groups. And in the movie and how it opens up, of course, outside of that, one of the FBI agents is a guy by the name of Roy Mitchell. Roy Mitchell, of course, is played by an actor. I don't know if you're familiar with him, and I'm going to put the link to where you guys can actually look at this article about in the comments section. That is the actual link to look at with regards to J. Edgar Hoover. But he played Chucky O'Brien in the film The Irishman. If you remember The Irishman about uh, Jimmy Hoffa and uh, Frank Sheeran, who was played respectively by Robert Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. And in that film, of course, that actor who played Chucky O'Brien, of course, was Hoffa's adopted son. And there's a long story about that. because they say he was supposedly involved. But the actor who plays him is Jesse Plemons. So this is the actor here. He played Roy Mitchell. Roy Mitchell is agent who will recruit one of our lead characters in the film. So that's him there. That's the actor there. Damn, he looks older than what he's listed. He's listed as being born in 1988. He's younger than me. Can't believe that. Okay. Anyway, he's engaged to Kirsten Dunst. All right. So, at any rate, in the film, it opens up with William O'Neill. Will O'Neill, of course, is one of our lead characters, and Bill O'Neill is a two-bit thief, and he made his, uh, you know, his life of crime was essentially stealing cars and pretending to be an FBI agent to steal cars. Spoiler alert for everyone. I'm talking about the film. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about Judas and the Black Messiah. So again, there are spoiler alerts in this. So in the film, William O'Neill gets caught going stealing and taking cars for joyrides by pretending to be an FBI agent. And we saw what's up, Jaleel, and he gets apprehended, and he's facing a long prison term for hot wire for stealing cars and car key, and taking them for a joyride. He gets arrested. Subsequently, Roy Mitchell uh, goes ahead, sees his file, sees what he's been charged with, and offers William O'Neill an opportunity to get off, or at least lighten his sentence and avoid any jail time at all. And as we see here, hold on a second, I'm trying to put a picture up of the film. This is actual still shot from the film. If you guys can see it in a second, I'm about to share it with everybody. You all can take a look. This is a still from the movie here. That is Roy Mitchell. That's William O'Neill. So he offers him a deal in the film. Okay, so Northern Bell says she hasn't seen the film, so she just came to drop a like. Thank you, Northern Bell. So she's leaving now. She's going to check out the film. Northern Bell, you better leave now. We're going deep in this. But thank you for coming in. So I told y'all there will be spoiler alerts. It's best probably to watch the movie if you hadn't seen it. But I saw somebody said earlier that they did just finish reading it. I think it was Miss P. Miss P, if you here, what did you think of the film? I want to get your opinion, those who have seen the movie, what you think about it, because we're going to talk about it for the next 20 minutes. So I'm trying to keep it to an hour. But that's William O'Neill. That's supposed to be Roy Mitchell. He's the FBI agent that recruited William O'Neill. And you can see here, they talk about William O'Neill. They actually show side by side pictures of Lakeith Stanfield. He's the brother that plays the snitch, William O'Neill. Now, I'm going to just get this out the way in terms of performances. And if you guys saw what I had to say on Nicole's channel, shout out to Nicole, by the way, for having me come on again. Uh, I thought that the performances overall were very good. I thought they were great. I thought his portrayal was great. He looks, just like William O'Neill. I think he's the reason why they recruited him is based on or casted him in the film is right now you look at Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kenyatta. They're the only, I guess, if you want to say, black men right now who get major roles because they've came off some pretty great movies. Of course, both of them starred respectively in Get Out. Daniel Kenyatta and Am I pronouncing his name correctly? Somebody tell me if I am. And Lakeith Stanfield, I've seen him in a lot of stuff lately. He was also in Get Out, but I saw him in the film uh, Knives Out. He's also been in a couple. Sorry to bother you. A couple other films. Bishop says, "I'm watching your show on my TV. I can hear it louder than on my cell phone." Okay, so that means my volume's working. Kahlua. Oh, it's Daniel Kahlua. Or okay, I I butchered the names again. My mistake. Daniel Kahlua. Daniel Kahlua, Lakeith Stanfield. Kahlua Kaluau, whatever. Daniel Kahlua. Okay, Daniel Kahlua. I got it right. Thank you. Kahlua and Lakeith Stanfield. So that's he gets recruited as William O'Neill. William O'Neill gets recruited, and of course, eventually, what happens is that uh, and Lakeith is in the film Atlanta, the Atlanta TV show. I haven't watched that show honestly. Uh, to be quite honest, I know that it's been funny. I have a friend of mine who actually was on that show. A guy I know, Robert Powell. He's a comedian. He was the barber in one of the episodes. A real funny dude. And let's see. So when we watch the film, of course, now Daniel Kaluuya plays none other than Fred Hampton. And Daniel, of course, he has been in films like Get Out. We've seen him in Black Panther. I actually knew him from a movie he did. He's from Britain. He actually did a Mr. Bean film, a movie with the guy that played Mr. Bean, Johnny English. That was one of the films he did. That was actually, I think, his first major film. But of course, I know him best. Most people know him best from Get Out because he was the lead role, and he's an Oscar nominated actor for best. He got nominated for best actor. Now, of course, Daniel, I a lot of people take issue with the fact of some things he said about race. I know there are some things he has said and done, and of course, uh, being a non-Black American, a lot of people take issue with the fact that he is playing an icon like Fred Hampton. And Nicole even mentioned that because she thought Denzel's son, John David, probably could have done a better job. Well, my whole thinking on it, again, is the reason why they picked Lakeith and the same reason why they picked, and this is him as Fred Hampton. Now, let's see a picture of the real Fred Hampton. Okay. That's the real Fred Hampton. I thought about this. Maybe Jonathan Majors, the brother from Lovecraft Country. He kind of looks like Fred. He certainly got the nose. Yeah, Lakeith looks nothing like Fred Hampton. He looks nothing like Fred Hampton. Jonathan Majors probably would have done a great job as it. Again, but I'm not gonna knock Daniel Kaluuya. See, I got it right because I think Daniel he's a great actor, and I thought he did a great job as an actor. Uh, his black scent, his black scent kind of. What are some popular stuff that came out of Chicago? Probably a mix of Barbershop 3 uh, with a little bit of The Fugitive. I don't know. I thought he was better than the guy who played in Selma, that played Dr. King, because he's actually British as well. And his accent was cracking up all throughout the movie. But that's the real Fred Hampton. So anyway, what they did in the film, O'Neill, after getting recruited, He attends, Malcolm X University and gets to meet Fred Hampton and joins the Black Panthers. And eventually, he becomes the head of security for the Black Panther Party. He was recruited and he became a captain, if I'm not mistaken, because he was in charge of and got very close to Fred Hampton. So he had keys to the Panthers' headquarters and safe houses. And in the film, you see and show how manipulative the FBI were. Now, a very powerful scene in the film that stuck out with me uh, was when Roy Mitchell actually meets J. Edgar Hoover. Again, spoilers. And there's a line in the film where J. Edgar Hoover's character, J. Edgar Hoover, meets with Roy Mitchell, and they're still discussing and talking things, and he mentions Mitchell's daughter, and he asks him point blank, what do you do if she's going to bring home a Negro? And Roy Mitchell pauses and says, well, sir, she's an infant. So his daughter was just born. He says, I know she's an infant, but what are you going to do when she brings home a Negro? And Mitchell is lost for words. He even says, sir, I don't understand the point of this. And what he was and what they did in the screenplay and what they were doing, and this is written by two brothers, the brothers that wrote and created Judas and the Black Messiah, was these two brothers that actually stand-up comedians, uh, Kenny Lucas and Keith Lucas, the Lucas brothers. They actually wrote the story. They also created uh, Lucas Brothers Moving Company. That's a adult animated television series. I think I know who these guys are. These were the dudes that were in 22 Jump Street. I remember now. Okay, yeah, them. So that figures. The twin brothers. Okay, so they wrote the story, but the screenplay is written by Shaka King and Will Burson. Now, whenever we say Shaka King, born in Crown Heights, grew up in Bedford-Stuy in Brooklyn, New York. So Shaka King wrote the screenplay with the guy Will Burson. I don't know who Will Burson is. I don't know if he's a black man, if he's white, but apparently Kenny and Keith Lucas were the ones that pitched this idea for a biopic with Netflix and A24, and eventually the project got started sometime in 2019. Now, it's very important, I guess, to figure out who these people are, because we'll get an idea of who had the idea to craft this story. Now, I'm looking here on Google. Okay. I don't know which one is which. Is this Will Burson? I'm going to say that's him. Okay. So this is Will Burson. So it's a white guy. So he co-wrote the screenplay with Shaka King, and story credits were given to himself, King, and the Lucas brothers. So that's him on the right, guys. That's the screenwriter for Judas and the Black Messiah. And it doesn't surprise me if we have, uh, they always have to have white people that work behind the scenes in these films. But when you don't control the narrative, when you don't control your story, when you don't produce the film, when you don't have the monies to control your film, as well as who is in it, who's creating it, and so forth, you always have outside influence in your movies. Now, I don't know who wrote the dialogue, but I'm willing to bet that Mr. Burson probably had that interesting dialogue between, as the one that made the Mitchell character more sympathetic, or even all of them. The way I look at it, it's all for one, but I'm sure he, had something to do with that dialogue, no doubt. But okay, we're gonna get to that though, Rosalind. We're gonna talk about O'Neill being a teenager and so forth and what they did in the film. So in watching the movie, as we go further, you see and further how they showed and seemed like O'Neill was getting real close with uh Fred Hampton. And even at some points, of course, the FBI starts hammering down on the Black Panthers. They actually attack their headquarters more and more, burning it down, initiating shootouts and things of that nature. One of the Black Panthers in the film, and it's another brother. I got to shout out to him because I like this brother. This brother, his name is Ashton Sanders. He played Jimmy Palmer, and in the film, Jimmy Palmer gets into a shootout and kills one of the police officers. And supposedly, this is the reason. Now, y'all know Ashton Sanders because Ashton Sanders was in The Equalizer. He was also in Moonlight, where he played Chiron. So I didn't see Moonlight, but I know him from The Equalizer too. All right. This is the brother here. I want y'all to. This is the brother from Equalizer too. He's a good actor, but he played Jimmy Palmer, and Jimmy, of course, is one of the men that killed. That gets in a shootout with the police. Now, this is all before Fred is killed. So pressure is building up, and Mitchell, again, spoilers. This is a special agent handler with the FBI. They actually get orders on from J. Edgar Hoover to kill or neutralize, as the word was, Fred Hampton before he returns to prison. Fred Hampton had faced some bogus charges for stealing ice cream, and they actually were sending him to, they were actually sending him to prison over these charges, although they were fraudulent. And he eventually, uh, is serving time in jail. All this time while his wife or his girlfriend, Deborah Johnson, and I got to mention this too, Deborah Johnson and Fred Hampton Jr. were consultants on the film. So we'll talk about that in a second. And I think one day we will have Fred Hampton Jr. come on the platform and talk about this. I've heard him on Judge Joe Brown show. I'm sure Brother Bernard, if he is watching, he could probably will be able to hook that up for us. Yes, we know why it won Oscars, of course. That's neither here nor there. But okay, getting back to it. So Fred was facing some charges and he was in jail. And even though he was released on appeal, they still rejected his appeal and he was going to be sent to jail. Now, interesting enough about Fred, and I don't think, and they went somewhat in depth, but didn't talk about it a great deal, was that Fred was the actual creator of the Rainbow Coalition before Jesse Jackson. That's right. He actually created the Rainbow Coalition, and he tried to unify a large amount of people of different rival gangs, different militia groups throughout the community. Uh, white, red, yellow, brown, black, it didn't matter. And he forms the Rainbow Coalition. and he fell in love with Deborah Johnson, who was also a Black Panther member. And O'Neill was an informant, obviously was getting paid monies to deliver intel for the United States government through the FBI. Now, what's interesting was there was a fugitive uh, party member named George Sams, and in the film they say Sams was an FBI informant. Now, being that he was an FBI informant and he was a fugitive, the FBI knew all of this. So the trick with that, they don't have any pictures of Sams, but there's a courtroom sketch of George Sams here. I will show you for their trial for the New Haven Black Panther trials. All right. This is a sketch that's present right here. You guys can take a look and see. That's supposedly, I think it's Bobby Seale, George Sams Jr., Warren Kingbo, and Erica Huggins. Now, it's been long rumored by a lot of people that Sams was an FBI informant, and the FBI, and this is on the East Coast, by the way. He was on the East Coast, and the FBI knew about him being an agent. They knew about him being a fugitive, and they talk about it in the film. They talk about it in the film, but they knew because this man was a fugitive. The FBI, everywhere this guy went, they did not need. They could get search warrants in order to raid the Black Panther headquarters, the various offices. So when they would show up in Chicago, whether they would show up if Mitchell was in Chicago, if Mitchell was in New York, if he was in Harlem, if he was in New Orleans, and I'm just paraphrasing, but here, anywhere he went, because he had an FBI, uh, he had a warrant out for his arrest, that guaranteed the FBI a reason to obtain a warrant and show up anytime at the Black Panthers headquarters. And they used that as a way to continue to harass them. So Fred eventually is arrested and jailed. He rises through the ranks. He becomes a security captain. And when there's a shootout between the police and the Black Panthers, he actually managed to sneak out as the place gets bombed. And O'Neill initially wants to, and I'm just going by the film, they're saying he attempted to quit, but by being an informant, but he was rejected by Mitchell. So they tried to make these characters sympathetic, which most people, and I think this is something I agree with others, uh, they don't see Mr. O'Neill, Bill O'Neill, being a sympathetic character. Now, I want to go forward into it because I will keep that in mind when we talk about a sympathetic character, because this is something I did have an instant with Daniel Kahlua or Kalada, whatever his name is. I had an issue with Daniel with regards to something he had stated. But I mean, he's entitled to his opinion, but I'm going to play that video for you a little bit later at the end. But keep that in mind. Remind me. We're going to talk about O'Neill being a sympathetic character. So let me go on. So subsequently, and those that are joining us, we are talking about Judas and the Black Messiah. Is spoiler alerts. If you don't want to hear what happened in the film and you have not seen this, again, I'm going to give you all some time. I'm going to give you at least 30 seconds to please get out of the room. You are warned, because some of you have not seen the movie. Okay. Jaleel, you've seen the movie, I take it. I've seen Rosalind, I think she's seen it. So let's continue. So I'm gonna put the picture of the poster up right there so you guys can see it there. So in the film, of course, Deborah Johnson is pregnant. Again, and there's also a couple other people after Jimmy Palmer is killed. Uh, Another Black Panther member, Jake Winters, engages in a shootout with the police and he kills some officers, but then he gets killed. So all of this stuff is building up, and I don't doubt that because in real life, I believe this is true. There were incidents like this that didn't happen. I believe that happened. Those things are true. Although I would say that they were initiated more by the government, by the police, than they were the Black Panthers. Because let's face it, these guys were being harassed, and you have the FBI memo stating this. And when Fred, of course, is killed, this was after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But never forget, J. Edgar Hoover talked about the rise of a Messiah that they had to neutralize. So he gets released from jail, and his appeal eventually gets rejected. Nevertheless, another scene in the movie is when Mitchell and his other assistant, FBI, one of his coworkers, is sitting there on the phone, and they are talking to J. Edgar Hoover. And Hoover is stating that, well, did you hear the news uh, that Hampton is going to jail? He's like, yes. Well, he says, sir, why are you not excited? That's good, right? Well, he says, jail made jail will do nothing because jail made I can't think of the act of this at this point, but he talks about, well, jail will essentially make him a best-selling. He compares it with another individual that jail would make him a martyr, or he talks about how jail didn't help other people, had worked out for other people, and orders that he be neutralized before he returns to prison. Basically, this was an assassination attempt. And Mitchell, and they do this in the film, essentially corners O'Neill, telling him that he needs to turn over all information about the layout and where the layout of Fred's apartment, where he lives, where he sleeps, and provide that for the FBI. And and O'Neill is disgusted, but he reluctantly agrees to help. Subsequently, uh, and I thought this was funny. Lil Rel plays this pimp character, and let me see if I can pull that up for everybody. Hold on one second. And I guess they had to have Lil Rel in this, being that he. So it's like three actors from Get Out were in that movie. It was a Get Out reunion, but Lil Rel played. I'm trying to find his character if it's on Google. I might be able to look at it through HB. Let me see if I could. I don't want to play the film because they'll claim copyright infringement, but I want to just show y'all if I could the steal from uh from the movie, so y'all can see what Lil Rel looked like. But he essentially plays hands William O'Neill some drugs in which to knock out uh which to knock brother Fred out when the cops come to his home. See if I can play it right quick for y'all. I don't want to play it, but I want to show you the steal from it. I'm gonna look for it right fast. Oh, all right. I think I found it. All right, hold on. I found it, guys. All right, I found it. This is Lil Rel as one of the as a snitch. Hold on. All right, I'm not gonna play the film, but that's a little. I laughed hard when I saw him because he's supposed to be a Mac Daddy. But it's also sad because it gets to a serious point. Okay, so I got the camera on. All right, I'm having camera issues. I don't know why. Okay, but y'all can see it. But that was Lil Rel, and his character uh, gives William O'Neill some drugs in which to knock out Fred Hampton. Now, the real William O'Neill has ever denied giving drugs to Fred Hampton, but his purpose was essentially to supply the drugs to Fred Hampton in which to uh, make Fred unconscious when they came to kill him. So, in real life, that did happen. Fred Hampton, it was known that he was drugged. I'm going to say William O'Neill, and even though he could deny it, I think he was a fucking liar because I mean we've already proven he was a snitch. But uh, he says he didn't give the drugs to him, but I don't believe that. I think he did because he was the one that set it up. And not just responsible for Fred's death. Remember, Mark Clark was also killed in this assassination. So these two men were assassinated. And God knows whoever, if they were there by the grace of God, they're still alive. They were lucky not to be killed as well. But that's Lil Rel. And so later that night, the next day, when Fred is celebrating with his family and with his friends, and this one was supposed to be a friend, the William O'Neill character gives William O'Neill asks Fred Hampton, "Can I pour you some more? Can I get you some more to drink?" He says that, and so he spiked Fred Hampton's drink. You guys can't see me. I'm sorry, I have no idea why the camera is acting like this. But okay, we'll just talk through here. Is that fine? You guys can hear me. That's good. That's all that matters. All right, hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're on here. So we're talking about Judas and the Black Messiah. And so sadly, later that night, uh, the rest of the Panthers who are sleeping over at Fred's house at his apartment hear footsteps outside the door. This is 4 o'clock in the morning. So Fred is still knocked out. He's in bed, obviously, with Deborah. And Deborah is 9 months pregnant with Fred Hampton Jr. So I'm lucky, and we're lucky that baby Fred is still here with us today at 51 years old. Fred Jr. is still alive, thank God. So we're lucky that he is here and present with us. And they actually threatened to shoot his mother while even though she was pregnant with him and was about to give birth. She subsequently gave birth, I think, less than 2 weeks after that, uh, if I'm not mistaken. So subsequently, he drops the sedatives in the drink. He leaves. Later that night, they hear someone outside of the apartment. They go to wake up each other. Mark grabs his shotgun, and when he makes a remark like, "Who's there?" a shotgun blast comes from the other door, and the police empty what appeared to be over 100 bullets, at least coming from the outside, into the apartment, striking several individuals. Mark Clark was killed instantly. Uh, Fred Hampton, I believe, was shot multiple times, and other members there were also shot, although injured, they survived. Deborah was not injured, thank God. But subsequently, as she was leaving, they stated, and she heard them actually uh, make the following remarks. He says, she says that that's Fred Hampton. This is from Fred. This is from fellow Black Panther Howard Bell, who was present. He said, "That's Fred Hampton. Is he dead? Bring him out. He's barely alive. He'll make it." The injured Panther said they heard two shots. According to Hampton supporters, the shots were fired point blank at Hampton's head. Deborah Johnson, um, Hampton's girlfriend, an officer, according to her, she said an officer said, quote, he's good and dead now. I'm going to show you guys some actual pictures. Warning, these are graphic. Okay. It was 25 days after his father was killed. That's right, Jalea. 25 days. So only 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. Fred Hampton was born out of conflict. Fred Hampton Jr. He was born out of trauma, but he's here. The hand of God was over our brother and his mother. All right, guys, this is a little graphic, okay? So I just want to warn you. But this is actual, this is the actual bedroom. Look at the bullet holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Fred is sleeping on this mattress. That's his blood. According to here, I'm looking on Wikipedia, he was drugged by barbiturates, a strong sleeping drug, and was sleeping on a mattress in the bedroom with his fiancee. She was forcibly removed from the room by the police officers while Hampton still lay unconscious in bed. He was hit in the shoulder. According to the National Archives and Records Administration, the National Archives and Records Administration, they were an independent agency of the United States government with the preservation and documentation of government and historical records. So essentially, they were a review panel, supposedly an independent agency, although their jurisdiction was still within the United States federal government. They stated upon that discovery, an officer, they don't know his name, they don't say his name, or I think they know to just keep it under wraps, shot him twice in his head and killed him. His body was dragged into a doorway of the bedroom and left in a pool of blood. The officers directed their gunfire at the remaining Panthers who had been sleeping in the north bedroom: Satchel, Anderson, Brewer, and Harris. So the rest of these individuals were seriously wounded, then beaten and dragged into the streets. They were each held on $100,000 bail. Deborah stated in the early 90s that she believed Fred was drugged. The reason why is because when he woke up, when the person said, Chairman, Chairman, he was shaking Fred's arms. You know, Fred's arm was folded across the head of the bed. And Fred, he just raised his head up real slow. It was like watching a slow motion. He raised, his eyes were open. He raised his head up real slow, you know, with his eyes towards the entranceway, towards the bedroom, and laid his head back down. That was the only movement he made. This is there's actual pictures of his body. I don't want to share that, but that's his funeral procession. It was attended by 5,000 people. Might have been more than that. Jesse Jackson and Ralph Abernathy both gave eulogies. Jackson noted that when Fred was shot in Chicago, black people in particular, and decent people in general, bled everywhere. On December 6th, members of the Weather Underground destroyed numerous police vehicles in a retaliatory bombing spree at 3600 North Halsted Street in Chicago. Now, there was an inquest. They, of course, called it justifiable homicide, but subsequently, that is always the case. They try to find a way to justify, but that doesn't mean it is true. And lawsuits were filed. Uh, in 1970, they filed a lawsuit stating that the civil rights of the Black Panther members were violated by the Joint Police FBI raid and seeking $457.7 million in damages. They talk about that in the film. Uh, this was by far one of the longest civil rights trials, uh, dragged out. They reached a settlement, which is what they typically do in the 1980s. So this was a 12-year trial. And even so, the judge had dismissed the suit against 21 of the defendants prior to jury deliberations. Said an assistant United States attorney, Robert Grunberg, said the settlement was intended to avoid another costly trial and it was not an admission of guilt or responsibility by any of the defendants. They always say that in these when these assassination attempts, when these police killings come forward, and in general, a settlement, I can tell you, it's not an admission of guilt or responsibility, but they do the same thing. Yes, Jaleel, they shot from outside the room. Now, I'm going to talk about that. Over 100 shots were fired from outside of the bedroom. And they tried to, if you look here, they tried to say that they only fired, the Panthers were firing at the police department. But that was horseshit because when there was an inquest, when they looked at the apartment, all of the shots were coming from outside and in, not inside out. The only shot that was fired was by Mark Clark, and that was after the shotgun fell on the ground and blew a hole in the roof. Okay? So you have, and keep in mind also, this is in the middle of the night. So they raided the home in the middle of the night. They say an investigation found that Chicago police fired between 90 and 91 shots, while the only Panther shot hit the ceiling from Mark Clark's fallen shotgun. I said 100, but 90, 91. Come on, that's close to 100 shots. Either way. Now, to relate it to the film, getting back to that, Bill O'Neill meets with Mitchell for lunch. He gives him money and a pair of keys to a gas station he now owns. O'Neill reluctantly, according to what they have here in the description from Wikipedia in the movie, when I saw it, O'Neill, of course, attempts to quit, but he reluctantly grabs the envelope full of money and keys and places them in his pocket, and he lives his life. Now, I told you all I was gonna go back and play some footage for you. And just here to be clear, this is an actual scene, so you guys can see from the movie. There's Judas and his 30 pieces of silver. They gave him $300 for this. That's Mitchell. That's the guy supposed to be Mitchell. There's his 30 pieces of silver. Now, the film ends there. Of course, they do a montage of footage, a mantra of footage from stock footage from Fred's speeches. They also have a interview with William O'Neill. I want to play for you a couple of things. We're going to play number one, William O'Neill's eyes on the prize speech. Interview, excuse me, because I want you all to see this. And they tried, and I'm going to play you something that Daniel Kahlua said that really caught my attention, that disturbed me. So this video is being shown. I got to do a copyright disclaimer. It's only for educational and news purposes. I do not own this footage. It is covered under the Fair Use Doctrine of United States Code 17, United States Code 1701. Okay. 17 United States Code 107, Copyright Act of 1976. And he actually made according to the film, O'Neill made $200,000 being an informant. So, hey, being a snitch has its benefits, apparently. I wonder if he got dental. All right. That's William O'Neill.
Did Roy Mental last meeting go down to the local office of the Black Panther Party?
The sound should be on. Oh, let me stop. Can y'all should be able to hear now. If you can hear, leave a like in the chat. Okay, somebody, you guys are saying you can't hear. So can you hear? Yes or no? All right, let me restart it.
Just like
Okay, I don't know what the issue is. Some people saying that they can't hear the sound. I can hear the sound clearly, so I don't know what's going on with it. Uh, can you hear the? I paused the video. I'm trying to see if you can't hear the video. I can hear it. Hold on. I know what's wrong. All right, stop. I apologize. I know it's wrong. Okay. I know it's wrong. Let me stop.
At this point, I question the whole purpose of the Black
How's
Panther
that?
Party. In my thinking, they were necessary. It was a shock treatment for white America to see black men running around with guns, just like black men and saw white men running around with guns. Yeah, that was a shock treatment. It was good in that extent, but it got a lot of black people hurt. My recruitment by the FBI was very efficient, very simple, really. I'd stolen a car and went joyriding over the state limit, and they had a potential case against me, and I was looking for an opportunity to work it off. And a couple of months later, that opportunity came when FBI agent Roy Mitchell asked me to go down to the local office of the Black Panther Party and try to gain membership. We tried to develop negative information to discredit him, just like we did everybody else. We, meaning the FBI, I tried to come up with signs of him doing drugs or something, and never could. He was clean. He was dedicated. I've had private conversations with him. We got along pretty well.
2 weeks later, a gun battle on Chicago's South Side further escalated tensions. A former Panther and 2 policemen were killed. The deaths provoked a response from informant William O'Neill's FBI contact.
Mitchell became more specific during that time. He wanted to know the locations of weapons caches. He wanted to know if we had explosives.
Let me pause it for a second. So this first almost 2 minutes now that O'Neill has been talking, you hear that they tried everything to find anything on Fred Hampton. And Fred, he even admits, was real dedicated. They couldn't find anything on Fred Hampton. So you see how these devils tried their best to bring Brother Fred down, and others who fought for Black freedom and liberation, those that fought for righteousness.
He needed to know who was staying at what locations, who spent the night where. His information didn't change so much as he requested more detail. And I knew why. The shootout on the South Side had pretty much laid the foundation within the party, within the Black Panthers. We knew that the police would react some type of way.
Expecting police action, the Black Panthers had fortified their office. FBI informant O'Neill was now head of Panther security in Chicago.
And I remember walking out of the office and looking through a little clearing over on the next block, which was right in front of the Monroe Street address, and seeing a lot of police cars over there. And at that time, Bobby Rush came to the office. He had just come from over there, or maybe the coroner's office. In any case, we walked back over there, and we both were speechless. We just walked through the house and saw what had taken place and where he died, and it was shocking. And then I just began to realize that the information that I had supplied leading up to that moment had facilitated that raid. I knew that indirectly I had contributed, and I felt it, and I felt bad about it. And then I got mad. I had...
Bad enough that he decided to take that money in that gas station.
And then I had to conceal those feelings, which made it worse. I couldn't say anything. I just had to continue to play the role.
FBI headquarters authorized payment of a $300 bonus to informant William O'Neill for, quote, uniquely valuable services which he rendered over the past several months, unquote.
$300. They gave him an extra 0. Like I said, his extra pieces of silver, all blood money. Somebody wrote, I think people, I'm looking at YouTube, I think people like him are descendants of the slaves who told on other slaves that were going to revolt or run away. And issues that a lot of people took with uh, Fred, with the movie, is that they tried to make O'Neill a sympathetic character. Now, what I wanted to show you was an interview that I saw. This was part of an interview, and I'm trying to see if I could play it. I don't know if YouTube will give me some issues with regards to playing the film or playing the video. But Daniel Kahlua made some interesting remarks about William O'Neill that I looked at. And I think it's interesting that you all check it out. But he stated, and I don't own this person's channel, shout out to her, but I'll just play it briefly if I could.
School, I wasn't talking about Fred Hampton at all in the Black Panther Party, very minimally at school. And then
That's the
I
accent he used in the
from
film.
conversations with friends and people I was around, and navigating feelings of like, I don't know, anger, being a young black man and growing in that
I'm
kind of
trying to
space.
get to the. I don't want to play the
kinda
whole
take
clip.
in
Shout
the
out to Stiletto Jill. I know this is from Hearst channel.
Yeah, I think that's something that
was focused.
But this is a
you need to
question
kind of
she asked him.
learn about them and see what they stood for.
When you got the script and you saw that the dynamic was focused in large part on his relationship or the situation with Bill, learning that they were so young at this point in time, with Bill being 19 initially when it started and Fred being 21 when they passed, do you think that there's room for sympathy for Bill and what he went through, because it comes down to self-preservation over the greater good of the group? What do you?
Yeah, I think that's something that like I'm really actually kind of meeting on this press run about. I think someone said recently about like, man, he like how young Bill was. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like you just said it, highlighted. It's a 19-year-old kid. You know what I'm saying? That was being bullied and threatened by the FBI and told you need to do this and you need to do that. And it just it shows the dangers of apathy, you know, and how much you can destroy with that, you know, and how it makes you so malleable if someone actually understands what's happening. But it's also to understand the root of his deeds. The root of his deeds is in the establishment who activated him in order to destroy what he destroyed and lead to the assassination of Chairman Fred. You know what I'm saying? That's the root of it, you know, and you have to have empathy for, you don't have to, but he's a human being, you know, and that's why I feel like this film and Lakeith incredibly balanced. They don't kind of excuse
you have to have empathy,
but they do
Y'all
show
heard that
this is a person that is in conflict, and he is being educated and believes in the Black Panther Party, believes in the work that Chairman Fred did, but because of the apathy of before, you know, because he was self-preserving, and maybe is self-preserving.
All right, I gotta stop it. Okay, I've heard enough. All right, but y'all heard that what Daniel Kahlua just said. You have to have empathy for Bill O'Neill because he was a 19-year-old kid and he was bullied by the FBI. Daniel is entitled, Kahlua is entitled to his opinion. I'm not going to knock him for having His opinion, he has a right to say what he wants. But damn that. Yeah, Bill O'Neill was being harassed by the FBI. But why was he harassed by the FBI? He was a thief. He went around with a fake FBI badge pretending to be an officer, arresting people falsely and stealing their rides, going for joyrides. Yeah, he was young. But his information and what he did led to two people, innocent people, being killed. I understand though why people don't like seeing, especially our people. We get tired of seeing others come over from different countries. Black, people of melanated, people who are melanated, people who have the same amount of melanin or more in our skin, but don't have our history and are not aware of it. Like this African booty scratcher up in Michigan that's running for governor, and he wants to abolish Black History Month. I actually saw this fool talking, saying, "Why don't we?" He tries to talk with proper English, but it sucks. But we need a Swedish History Month. We need a Finnish History Month. Why not that? You have no idea what Black America has had to go through, and I'm sick of these. I'm sick of these African booty scratchers who come over to this country and disrespect us. I know everybody doesn't have the same mindset as that guy. Abolish Black History Month. I noticed one thing, that fool didn't even say that he wanted to abolish LGBT month. You think he would say that to the gay community? I hope you all out there in Michigan, I would commit voter fraud just to keep his ass from the primary, from a runoff. Look at this. Look at this fool. Look at him. He's smiling like the damn Sambo. This is what they're replacing you with, people. Keep him from the runoffs. Y'all in Michigan, keep this nigga out of keep him out. Keep this fool out. Do not vote for him at all. Please. Had enough. I don't want to talk about him. That's Austin. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. If I'm pronouncing right or wrong, I don't care. Austin Chinye. I'll just put it like that. Do not vote for Mobutu too. Didi Amin Dada the third. Fuck out of here. Forget him. Yeah, but getting back to the movie. Sorry, guys. Getting back to the movie. With Daniel Kahlua and his comments, this is what I think is problematic with uh, when people who look like us but do not struggle like us or have our history fail to realize the depths and pains that Black Americans go through in this country. And in particular, I think Daniel's comments, this is just my opinion, and I don't have anything personally against Daniel, but all respect, I thought he was off base with that remark. But, you know, empathy for a man who's responsible for killing two people. I don't think so. I don't know if I could do that. And I'm not a person that's against forgiveness because I wouldn't want anybody, if I made a mistake, to not forgive me if I were truly sorry for what I did and I wanted to repent for what I did. I would want to be forgiven. So I'm not going to sit here and say that forgiveness is beneath me or that people shouldn't be forgive uh, those that have trespassed against them because we should. But what's wrong with this was that justice was denied. Justice was never given for Fred Hampton and Mark Clark, sadly. And it still has not been given to his family. You know, likely it won't happen due to the fact of the time periods this occurred. All of the witnesses are elderly, or all those who were involved, the police that were involved are likely dead. Uh, I think that shout out Blackfoot. You guys also please, you see the ticker at the bottom, donate to the Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire, and also Google Pay gavin.grichard@gmail.com. But I'm just disgusted by, yeah, I do not agree with Daniel Kaluuya's comments on that. And it's not uncommon that when you have situations like this, they try to get people to be sympathetic or look at, things in a new light so that they could try to justify uh, a person's behavior. You see that especially after these police shootings. The first thing they do is put a microphone in front of one of the family members and say, you know, do you forgive this individual for shooting your son 8 times in the back? Well, I just guess I got to do it because the Lord says I got to do that. I, that's what we're faced with. So overall, let me just give my final rundown on the movie, what I thought about it, and what I encourage everybody to see it. Just my thoughts. If I had to give this film a grade, I would give it a B. I would give it a B. I thought the acting and performances were great. Again, I know about the casting and so forth. I didn't, the casting, Lakeith Stanfield, I thought was great. Like I said, again, I thought that the performances were great. My only takeaway was that they did not show enough of Fred's accomplishments and things that he did. The story was not on Fred Hampton. The story was about uh, the Judas. And that's the thing that I think turned a lot of people off was that uh, William O'Neill was portrayed as a sympathetic character, and they made him the central character of the film. Keep in mind, a lot of people may not know this, but Daniel Kaluuya is nominated for Best Supporting Actor on this film, not Best Actor. So he was not the lead actor in the film. He was second to Lakeith Stanfield's character, playing, which was William O'Neill. Yeah, so keep that in mind. So I give it a B. I thought the performances were great. I think it could have focused more on stuff. Now, what was interesting was that the setting, especially that it was in 1969, in that era, of Chicago. I've never been to Chicago. Those that are in Chicago know that you can talk about it a little bit more than I could. But uh, I thought that The settings and so forth were great. Obviously, for something in the 1960s, I thought that uh, the environment, the setting, the things that they did capture were good. So I would encourage people to at least get some information first and foremost on Fred Hampton and who he is. And that's a positive thing I could say about the film is that it has brought Brother Fred back into the limelight, and people can learn more about him as a result of this movie. But the movie, of course, it is not, as always, there's some fictional elements to it, so don't rely on it uh, wholeheartedly. Jaleel says the setting was fairly accurate. Yeah, I knew that. So I did watch the film and I enjoyed it. The other thing I want to talk about is the soundtrack too, because apparently they had several people a soundtrack that was made for the film, and this sister won me, who's a Chicago native, actually was supposed to be associated with the film. And I see other artists are on the soundtrack, including her. Jay-Z is supposedly involved, ASAP Rocky, Nas, and Nipsey Hussle. They all have songs. Yeah, Nipsey's got songs on here too. Uh, they have songs on here. And the sister won me. She actually refused to have her name associated with the movie. And the reason being was that no name, excuse me, I said one name. One no name refused to have her name associated. She's a rapper. She has refused to have her name associated with the soundtrack. And she says here, you can look at this on Twitter. Let me show a picture of uh, no name. She's actually from Chicago. There's no name, Roswell. Okay. She stated here, uh, I'm trying, she wrote, what's crazy is they asked, I was supposed to be on the song with Saba and Spy, but after seeing the movie, I decided to pass. No Name responded to a fan who was assumedly addressing a now deleted tweet where No Name wrote, I hope people actually go study Fred Hampton's analysis on United States imperialism and fascism beyond just seeing a movie. When asked if the film is required watching, No Name answered bluntly, it was shot beautifully, the acting was amazing, but it's a movie about an informant. Fred is secondary, and his radical communist politics are centered at all. So she is right. Fred is a secondary character in the film. And again, Will O'Neill, just the end note, Bill O'Neill uh, was involved in a raid with the police and relocated to Federal Witness Protection Program, moved to California under the alias William Hurt, but he returned to Chicago in the mid 1980s. On July 15, 1990, O'Neill, who was 40 years old at that time, reportedly ran into traffic onto the Dwight D. Eisenhower Expressway and was killed. His death was ruled a suicide. According to his family, they wrote the following on William O'Neill. His wife had stated, quote, uh, that he denied having drugged Hampton the night before he was assassinated, and that although his wife claims it was accidental, referring to his death, they say that O'Neill had been drinking and attempted to jump out a second story window but was pulled back inside. His uncle Ben Hurd said that O'Neill had cooperated with the FBI to reduce his own potential jail time, then got in way over his head and was forever tortured by the guilt, and he never thought it would come to all this. O'Neill himself never felt like it was a betrayal of Hampton or the group, later recalling, I had no allegiance to the Panthers. But nevertheless, he's deceased, and he does this interview with Eyes on the Prize. And the day the interview aired, which was January 15th, was the day he killed himself. So I tend to think he was lying even in death because clearly for him to die on the same day this was to air, and I'm sure they told him it was set to air, he struggled with the guilt of what he had done. So on that, it was no name, Rosalind. With that being said, guys, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I would say if you are to go and watch, uh, someone said suicide, but there weren't any attempts on his life. Well, let me just say this in closing before I go. Actually, there's an article that's asking that I just saw trending on Google. They asked, was he murdered? Referring to William O'Neill. And I don't know how true that is, being that he snitched on Fred Hampton. Hold on a second. Meow. This is from Meow. They actually asked, was Fred Hampton murdered? This article is by Justina Jai Jayotesna Basosha. That's O'Neill. It looks like O'Neill right there. That's of course Fred. I'm just reading to this. He did not have any felt any remorse. I didn't feel like I had done anything. I didn't walk in there with the guns. I didn't shoot him. FBI didn't do it. I felt somewhat like I was betrayed. Yeah, right. I think if I look back at it myself, I say I had never met Mitchell. I probably would be in jail or dead. If you ask me if I'm a happy man, I'm not happy. No, I'm not even content. So Neil had a son. I'm sorry for, you know who I feel sorry for? I do feel sorry for his children, his son, and his family because their name is associated with this as well. I am sorry about that. Uh, I am sorry for them. That's the interview that he did with Eyes on the Prize. And sadly, no one would accept him back. Sadly, his family, I'm talking about Bill O'Neill's family, they are associated with that. So I feel sorry for them. Uh, Again, if you're going to see the film, go see it, but see it with an open mind. Do some research on who Fred Hampton was and is as the chairman of the Black Panther Party in Chicago. I think we're going to try and get his son, if we could, Fred Hampton Jr., to come on the show one day and talk about the film because they did serve as consultants. Fred Hampton Jr. and his mother, Deborah Johnson, are still alive today with us. Fred Hampton Jr. is actually 51 years old and his mother Deborah Johnson, I'm sure she's got to be got to be in her 70s or so. But she was young when she had him. And let's see, I think I got a picture here. Okay. Okay. So that's Fred. And this is a striking image. Let me show you guys right quick. He is a striking image of his daddy. This is an old, I think this is a fairly old picture. It's not current, but this was in the 19, uh, when was this taken? No, this was, okay, so this is current. This is Mother Akua Najiri. So this was current. I apologize. Looks just like his dad. So that's his mother. I think those are pictures of his mother when she was a young lady. And that's a painting, I guess, of Fred and his mom, Fred Jr. So yeah, you feel sorry. I feel real sorry for them more than anything. Yeah. I'm gonna see if we can try and get them to come on the show. If they'd be willing to, that would be great. But I'm thank God that he was able to come into this world. His mother survived, that the other survived. I think about Mark Clark and his family as well. I don't think Mark had children or anything like that. I don't know if he was the only child, but sadly he was taken as well from this world. At a young age. These were two young men. They were all in their early 20s. They had more to offer to the world. So while you want to portray William O'Neill as a sad and sympathetic character, I have to think about Fred Hampton. I have to think about Mark Clark. I think of Dr. King. I think of Malcolm X. I think of those men who had children, who had families that were doing great things, and sadly, they're no longer with us. I can only imagine what would have happened had Fred gone on. Some were blessed to continue, like Bobby Rush. But we're gonna see if I can get him on. I'm gonna look into it some more, guys. But let me end the show right now. I've gone almost 2 hours, but this was a great show, a movie review on the film Judas and the Black Messiah. Now, they both served as consultants on that film, so I don't know how much input they had on it, but perhaps we could talk about it for next time. I'm gonna see if I can get them on as soon as I can. But I'll do my best. But go see the film, go with an open mind, like I said, and study Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers, and also study the FBI. Get that book, uh, The Secret Life of J. Edgar Hoover, if you're interested, by Anthony Summers. I might check that out myself as part of some more reading. But anyway, guys, that has been it for Gavin Richard, what Gavin Richard presents. I hope you guys have a blessed, safe evening. It is cold down here in New Orleans. Mardi Gras, we're gonna have a frozen gras. No floats are coming down this year anyway because of COVID. But we still gonna. I'm sure people are gonna find a way to enjoy themselves, enjoy Carnival time. It's going to be real cold. A lot of people aren't even driving right now because of the weather. But anyway, guys, you be safe, be blessed wherever you are. I'll holler at you all at the next one. But if you enjoyed the live stream, if you enjoyed this movie review, give me a hell yeah in the chat. If you enjoyed this review and you enjoyed this chat, I need you to please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. I need you also to donate to the channel, to the Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire, and Google Pay or PayPal at gavin.grich1@gmail.com. If you all want to see more of this, please donate. And also, if you'd like to see some ideas for videos, you can let me know. I will upload and send you all a link to the podcast. Let me do that right now. I have not uploaded the current podcast with Judge Joe Brown because that's part one of our interview. I will upload that later tonight. But when it gets uploaded, I will definitely send that to you all. The podcast is Gavin Richard Presents on Anchor. Here is the link to the podcast that you all can go to and check it out. So I have it right here. It's in the comments section. Bossa Queenie, shout out to you. Shout out to Jaleel. Shout out to all. Shout out to Rosalind, Miss P, everybody, Bishop Scott, everybody that's been on here. I appreciate you all. Be safe and be blessed, guys. I'll holla. Peace.